He was 78 years old, he had a heart condition, and in the early hours of a Wednesday morning, two masked men broke into his home while his disabled wife slept upstairs. By the time the police arrived, one of those men was dead in the street, and the entire country was calling Richard Osborn-Brooks a hero. Richard Osborn-Brooks was, by all accounts, exactly what he looked like. A quiet, retired pensioner living in a semi-detached house on South Park Crescent in Hither Green, southeast London. Former manager, former soldier, he'd actually fenced in the army, which, as it turns out, becomes relevant. He'd lived in that house for 42 years with his wife Maureen. She was 76, she had dementia, and her mobility wasn't great. In the early hours of the 4th of April 2018, two burglars broke into the home of Richard Osborn-Brooks and his wife Maureen. One of them was Henry Vincent, aged 37. The other was Billy Jeeves, 28. Osborn-Brooks was forced into his kitchen by Vincent, who was brandishing a screwdriver, while Jeeves went upstairs. Looking for cash. Looking for valuables. Looking for whatever an elderly couple might have lying around. What they hadn't banked on was Richard using the moment to play it clever. In an audio recording later played to a coroner's court, Osborn-Brooks could be heard telling detectives, "I said I have got to get my heart medication out of the drawer. He let me go and I went over and grabbed that knife out of the knife block and he ran out through the front door." That was Billy Jeeves, scarpered the moment he clocked the knife. Jeeves fled through the front door shouting, "Get out quick, he's got a knife." Sensible, really. Henry Vincent, however, did not take that particular hint. He came back down the stairs brandishing the screwdriver and said, "Get out of my way or I'll stick you with this." Because Richard Osborn-Brooks looked at the screwdriver, looked at his 12-inch kitchen knife, and delivered what is, without question, one of the greatest lines in the history of British self-defense. "I think you're wrong, because mine's bigger than yours. And if you don't leave my house you will be sorry." Osborn-Brooks told Vincent his intention was to protect Maureen. He wasn't trying to kill anyone. Vincent, who had, I can't use the actual names due to risk of getting shadow banned, Snow White and Hero Out in his system, ignored the warning and instead allegedly charged at Osborn-Brooks. The knife entered his chest. Vincent staggered out of the house and collapsed in the street nearby. Police arrived at South Park Crescent at 12:45 in the morning. They found a dying man in the road, a 78-year-old pensioner in his kitchen, and a trail of chaos leading back to a white Vauxhall Astra that was already long gone. Vincent died at University Hospital Lewisham at 3:37 a.m. Richard Osborn-Brooks was arrested on suspicion of murder. And that is where the story properly caught fire. So, a pensioner, defending his dementia-suffering wife from two masked burglars in the middle of the night, was now in custody for murder. Meanwhile, the accomplice was still on the run. How on earth was this going to end? The public response was, to put it mildly, spectacular. Osborn-Brooks's neighbours launched a GoFundMe in support of him, raising more than £7,500 in 4 days alone. Petitions circulated. Newspapers ran editorials. The phrase, "hero of Hither Green," started doing the rounds, and it stuck. 2 days after the arrest, the Metropolitan Police reviewed the evidence, consulted the Crown Prosecution Service, and decided not to proceed with any charges. Osborn-Brooks had acted in lawful self-defense. But then it emerged who Henry Vincent actually was. Vincent was a career criminal who was wanted by Kent police investigating a distraction burglary involving jewellery and valuables stolen from a man in his 70s. He'd been on Kent police's most wanted list. What followed was one of the most bizarre street standoffs in recent London memory. Vincent's family and associates laid flowers and cards opposite Osborn-Brooks's house. Locals repeatedly tore them down. The tributes kept reappearing. Police tried to keep the peace between grieving relatives and furious neighbours. On what would have been Vincent's 38th birthday, mourners erected a fresh shrine outside the property, widely seen as an act of intimidation toward the couple who could no longer even go home. Fearing retaliation from Vincent's associates, Osborn-Brooks and his wife went into hiding. They eventually sold their home of 42 years and moved away. Their location remains unknown to this day. Meanwhile, Billy Jeeves, the one who'd legged it, evaded capture for more than 2 weeks before being arrested in Kent on the 20th of April. He was eventually released without charge in connection with the Hither Green burglary, after police said there was insufficient evidence GTP. He was later convicted of nicking £800 worth of power tools from a home base in Orpington and jailed for 8 weeks. A year later, in May 2019, the inquest into Henry Vincent's death was held at Southwark Coroner's Court. Osborn-Brooks gave evidence via video link. His face was obscured. His location was not disclosed. Senior Coroner Andrew Harris recorded a verdict of lawful killing. He stated that the force used was moderate and proportionate. He was 78 years old, defending his wife in the middle of the night, and he's cheated. Researching these cases and making the videos takes hours. Your likes, comments and follows are the caffeine that keeps me going. It is completely free for you and means the world to me. Please hit the follow button and help me grow.